Is it 1 minute or live?
Welcome back to the Fantasy Waiver Wire. Welcome back. It's been a minute, but always, it's your boy Tubby coming back with some Fantasy Waiver Wire advice. A lot has changed in our league, but before I get too far ahead of myself, man, with me as always, Lee. What's up, Lee?
Hey, what's going on? It's good to be back. I know that people that we just started this up this year, and we have some regular subscribers. So, I mean, we had some time off. Now, that will not be the case each and every year,
right,
where we take a whole month off. But it just worked out that way. I went to Texas for 2 weeks for the Formula One, and then stayed, and then I went to St. Louis and went out there to see some friends. So we're in here, and it is what it is. But it's good to see you back and catching up. Yeah, you're right. While you've been gone, a lot has changed in our fantasy league. It's like gone topsy-turvy. It's actually gone kind of sideways. Like everybody's kind of meshed in together. So, yeah, I'm sure that we've got a lot to talk about today as far as getting ready for the trade deadline and as far as the waiver wires going on. So, yeah, it's great to be here.
Yeah, man. Definitely not. This is definitely an unusual situation. You don't take just a bunch of trips like that normal, but it was opportunity that just couldn't pass up, man. And it was good to have some time off. It was stressful not being able to watch the games like I needed to. Let me give you a quick run cap of my Eagles journey.
Oh, nice.
So we're playing the Jets, right? Yeah. I'm just go right to the Jets game, right? So I'm there in Honolulu on Sunday. And right as we're checking out, the Eagles and Jets game is still on. So I'm like watching the game, but I have to check out at the same time because we have to go get on the ship to cruise. So I had to watch. The Eagles were winning, but I had to watch the game, the last bit of it, probably like the last quarter, I want to say, in like this open lobby bar area, which I hate doing unless I'm around like Eagles fans in Philly or something like that. I don't really like to watch the game out in public because I don't want nobody talking shit to me, honestly. And a lot of people, when you're in the bar, some people, it is what it is. So anyway, so watch that interception, man, as the Eagles lost right as I was getting on the ship. So I was salty walking on the ship. Eagles just, first loss of the season, to the Jets, a team that we could have beat, but we just had our worst day possible. I mean, anything the Eagles could do wrong, they did it in that game. It was just unbelievable. Definition of like playing down to your competition. So then the second game was my anniversary, the Dolphins game.
Oh, okay.
So they did have it on the ship, but we were docked on the island of Moorea, French Polynesia. And it's around like Bora Bora, if you're not familiar with it. It's just around that area.
Yep.
So, we had an excursion, got to see the island all day. It's my anniversary, so, I don't want to prioritize the Eagles. I'm normally able to record it, but this is like a situation where, man, I'm just going to simply miss the game, and that's unusual. But we went out, man, did our thing, had a great time on Moorea. Beautiful island, I recommend it. And when we got back on the ship, I just saw the fourth quarter. Basically, I turned it on right as Slay was like catching the interception.
Oh, nice.
So that's where I, caught the game from the Slay interception on, and then obviously, pins and needles, to that game was over. But it was like so good to see him in the Kelly Green. I was like, so good to see him, and it's so good to get a win.
Yep.
The Washington game, we were in New Zealand at that time, and I just bought the game. I just bought the weekly pass. It was like $24. I was like, whatever, and watched the Washington game, pins and needles. I had football all day that day. It was like probably the first time of the trip, about 3s where I had football, just all day. So watched that Washington game where, Sam Howell, who's leading the league in passing, but he always looks just crazy against the Eagles. And I'm just never understand how every team can shut him down, or he'll get sacked like crazy against the Bills one week and we make him look like Mark Ripken.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just insane. And then I watched the Dallas game in Sydney, and as we were checking out of the hotel, it was like so I missed that last 2 minutes of the Dallas game.
Oh, wow.
Which was a frenzy, looking
Yes.
back on it. It was, but I'm like, oh, we got to check out our Ubers here. We got to get to the airport. Not really a time to mess around with your travel. Especially travel international with, with children and stuff, man. So, yeah, man. And it was in the car when I saw that the Eagles won. So I saw that they won. I missed the whole last 2 minutes. So,
wow.
And it's so tough to miss any part of the Dallas Eagles game, especially when it's that close. So yeah, man, missed that whole last 2 minutes, but it was still worth it, man. But just stressing, trying to watch them, and luckily that week the red zone was free. I don't know if it was just free in Australia, but it was free that week. So when I just logged on, even though I paid the last week, I still had my account up. I was just going to pay for it again. I'm not missing this Eagles Dallas game, not for $24. You can forget that. I'm paying that every time. So yeah, man, got to watch the game that way. Missed the last 2 minutes, but come back 8-1, still top of the league. And it was so good, this weekend to finally get to just sit down and watch some football. And I'm like, out of all weeks, the Eagles are on the bye week. When they couldn't have been on the bye week last week, and this could have been Dallas week. But hey, it is what it is. Life doesn't stop for anybody. They had a really good trip, man. I've never missed that much football in my life, but it was worth it, man. It was a great time. Now I'm back.
Yeah. On my end, the Jets game was, again, it was like that Washington game last year. It was like anything they could go wrong went wrong. The pass to Goddard that ricocheted off of them that they intercepted, the fumbles, DeAndre, or actually it was Gainwell that fumbled down there near the goal line, and I couldn't understand why he was in there instead of Swift. And it was just one of those comedy of errors games where they should have won that game but the Jets defense is no joke. And if you come in there sleeping, they will catch you out and win. We've seen a lot of teams where they've surprised them. They did it to the Bills. So it is one of those things. The Dolphins game, I was in Texas, and I was at a sports bar because we decided to go out. We were going to meet some friends. And it just happened to turn out that it was the same night of the ALCS, Houston and Texas. And I was in San Antonio. So a lot of TVs had the game on, but a lot of other TVs had the baseball on. So there was a lot of yelling for the Astros and the Rangers. And there was a bunch of Dolphins fans there. So I had to match their energy. And we left at halftime to go back to the house. But I was like, man, I should go back if the Eagles dominate the second half, which they did. So that was nice. I had a great time for that. The Washington game, yeah, it is what it is. I was still in Texas for that one. That was rough. But then the Dallas game, I was back home, and I was stood up for that entire game. I started out sitting down, and it was so close. Everything was just nip and tuck. I had a couple of drinks to calm my nerves, and then I was done. I stood up in front of my TV. Any breaks, I mean, I basically might have sat down for a little bit. My throat was sore. The thing for me was, the next day, of course, you got the Cowboys fans talking about how they were cheated. Most of them do not know football because they obviously don't know what a tackle is or hitting somebody. They're saying that Reed Blankenship hit Ferguson before he got into the end zone. He hit him before the ball got there. Guys, you watch football for a change and see how many bang bang plays there are. Stop with this slowing down. I had literally, dude, I had to, on so many of the message boards, I had to go through the game and take screenshots of every time Dallas held, because all these morons were putting the picture of Micah Parsons being held. I'm like, okay, well, how about when Swift was held? Okay, how about when Reddick was held? The Eagles had more penalties called on them during the game, and yet you're crying about penalties and somebody being held. And I was like, you guys, but we know what to expect from Cowboys fans. We know this. We've watched these games. If they lose, they're going to find excuses. They're not going to lose without a fight. They just can't accept an L. And that's basically what it is. And I granted that there was some missed calls and bad calls, but what I'm saying was it was equal out on both sides.
Okay.
The difference is that Greg Olsen, who I find to be one of the biggest tools in announcing, is so anti-Eagles. He pointed out every time the Eagles held, but he refused to point it out when you could see clearly an arm around Reddick's throat or an arm around Sweat's throat, and Greg Olsen's all of a sudden silent then. How about when a guy tries to take out Jalen Hurts' knee, which is his bruised knee? You tell me that was an accident? That they target the knee that they know he's injured? How about a guy grabbing Dallas Goedert's arm and not just tackling him by it, twisting it under his own arm to break it? So you want to talk a lot of smack, you can. All I can say is that rivalry after that game has gone up another notch this year. And I think the Eagles should really come out extremely physical in a few weeks. And I don't care if they win that game against Dallas, but they need to hurt Dallas, because Dallas went into that game to hurt Philly, not so much to win it.
Oh, yeah.
And they need a little bit of that back. So, yeah, so it was while you were gone, I missed being able to text you. It's probably a good thing. It's probably a good thing, because your phone would have been blown up 1,000 times. As much happened over the last few weeks.
Man.
And same thing with fantasy. I couldn't even text you about fantasy as I was sliding down the standings. I think I lost 3 straight. I finally bounced back this week to go finally 5-5 after like a 4-0 start.
Man.
I mean, like, dude, what is going on? I'm sitting there, losing 4 out of 5, and to be 4-5 at one point, just horrible. Just horrible.
Yeah,
but that's fantasy.
100%. And let me get since we talking about fantasy football.
Yeah.
My screen. Let me get my screen up. But yeah, man, that Dallas game, I was right with you. I was standing up for like the whole second half.
Yeah.
Of the Dallas game, because I just our offense was playing well. It was our defense that I was just, there was a play here or there, like like the 3rd and 3, we threw it long, and I was like, why are we running? Why are we doing that? That's not. But I mean, that's just picking apart. Dallas has a good defense, and our offense played well against a defense that's been pretty dominant this year. So, but man, and I missed that last 2 minutes, and I didn't even know that it was that crazy in that last 2 minutes. But yeah, man. So moving on, Eagles still 8-1.
Yeah. I will say this though, to piggyback before we get into this, is just that the defense, I did not complain about the scheme. It was the fact that we had a couple of rookies out there that were getting burnt. They were just getting toast in the slot. Eli Ricks, I mean, I love him. Sidney Brown, they got burnt a lot. Our new safety, Byard, did not play well.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Bradbury and Slay played okay, but the problem is they weren't lining up on CD. And I get that they say, oh, well, if CD's in the slot, we're going to. No, if CD's in the slot, then our best corner needs to move into the slot. Right. They did that on purpose. And Desai needs to realize that if their best receiver moves into the slot, you can't have Eli Ricks covering CD Lamb all game. And the fact that he didn't adjust that is the only thing that I would fault Desai for. I thought he called a good defensive game. Players just getting burnt. Dak lit it up. CD lit it up. They had a good game offensively. So.
You know what I've been noticing every week, just with our secondary in general, particularly in the red zone. Folks will they'll move the line around so they get that, what they call it, that milk check on Blankenship. You notice they go right at they put their biggest guy on blank, just make him go lateral or something, and you see 32 on the end of a lot of they're just manning him up. I'm like, they got to keep Blankenship in zone, both of our corners, both of our safeties, him and Byard, plays better going downhill.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have to have them turn around, it seems like, oh, this is trouble. So in our corners, I don't know why Slay didn't go with CD, man. Especially, they talk about Ricks, but for CD to be in that slot and you just know, oh man, this is just not good. They're just going to run a crossing route, which Slay has been getting cooked all year on crossing routes. So he hasn't been able to. Maybe that's why they're like, well, you haven't covered well on any crossing routes. You'll see number 2 trailing. Yeah. I think our entire secondary, it's either two things. Either they suck or they're in bad positions, but they've played horrible. We've been saying this for the last 3 years, man. Anybody can walk into Philadelphia and have a great game against our secondary. Just everywhere.
That's what made it so surprising that they shut down the number 1 offense at the time, the Dolphins. And it's like, how did they do that? But again, they had a little bit of different personnel out there. I do think Nakobe Dean was injured. So we had Edmonds out there. We had the other one that's been playing really well, other linebacker that's been playing really well. And Cunningham, thank you. Cunningham's been really nice. So we put Nakobe Dean out there at linebacker, and he's just not a good coverage linebacker, we're finding out. He's a good pressure linebacker. He's a good Reddick type. But I think that he doesn't need to be out there in passing situations. He's just not. And so
Burrow and Cunningham have been our 2 best linebackers this year. Burrow and Cunningham. Cunningham being the best overall. But I'm telling you, man, outside of our defensive line, they are suspect, bro. Like, I hate to see any of our guys in man. I just cringe, especially any of our safeties. Oh, my goodness. Especially that goal line. I'm telling you, man, it's like they go right at Reed. Like with Logan Thomas, or they'll just go right at him. It's like they'll try to get him in man, and once they know they're in man, it's like we're just going to go at him because he's a downhill person. So that's why you see him. We got the pick and Washington, the overthrow. Boom, we get the pick. Okay, cool. Game sealer. But even the Slay pick, we've been needing our secondary. We've been depending on guys dropping the ball. In that Washington game, we had to depend on those guys dropping the ball.
Yeah.
in that Dallas game, a few spots drops.
Yeah.
I mean, our defense, the secondary right now, man, is depending on drops, bro. And a couple of errant throws where we catch a pick here or there. But every time it's a third down, I just close my eye. I just feel like we can't stop them. We can't stop anybody on third down, bro. 3rd and 5, 3rd and 15.
Oh, 3rd and 18, 3rd and 20 for crying out loud. It's frustrating. And we can't pull that crap against Kansas City. We need to have the same type of game that they had against Miami on Monday night, and they got to come a little bit fired up. So this is the gauntlet stretch now. It started with Dallas. Now we got Kansas City, Buffalo, San Francisco, and then Dallas again, and then Seattle. So it's not going to get easier. So you just got to take it. I'm trying not to think ahead, but so I'm just trying to think about Kansas City and then just hope that they can get 3 or 4 wins out of the next 5 and then go into that final stretch, which is just the Giants, the Cardinals, and the Giants.
Right.
And you got to hope those are 3 wins. So
that is good on the very, very back end, but
they could easily with those 3 wins, that puts them at 11. You win 1 or 2 of this gauntlet, and then you're going in 13 and 4 going into the playoffs. I'm good with that. I think that's a good shot at the division, especially if they are able to beat Dallas again in Dallas. But we'll see. So anyway, we got some stuff going on here real quick. We got Kang TTV is back. He's missed us, so we've missed you too. We've been away. I know you haven't. It isn't you not catching them. It's the fact that we haven't been around. Both of us took extended vacations. Just happened the way it is. That won't happen again next year. We'll be here every week for fantasy as well. So he ended up losing what he refers to as an ass clincher last night. That was a messed up game with the Broncos and the Bills. I put out on Facebook, I said, is Buffalo trying to throw this game? Because it looks like they're trying to throw this game. And that was a crucial game for him. Yeah, that was a lot of people who had Josh Allen. And that's kind of been the thing with Josh Allen this year. Is he's not been the fantasy superstar that a lot of people have needed when they drafted him or expected. So it's been kind of rough. Also, he's got his first question of the week. This is a tough one. Brandon Cooks or Ty Chandler for a waiver pickup in a PPR. Brandon Cooks had a great game this past weekend. But I picked up Brandon Cooks just for the Philly game because of the weak secondary. And against a weak secondary with rookies all over it. Brandon Cooks got me, I think, 2 or 3 points. Now, this week, against a really, really bad Giants team, he finally had a good game. Now, Ty Chandler, and I'm glad you got him up there. Yeah, he had a decent game. He had 15 carries for 45 yards and a touchdown. But this is in the fact that Alexander Madison is now out, so he didn't really start. This is kind of cleanup. And it looks like Chandler is going to be the lead back. So I think what you really got to look at is who their opponents are over the next 3 weeks. And you've got it up there right now. You got Denver, who is giving up the most points against the run right now. Chicago giving up the 10th most, and then Las Vegas giving up the 8th. That's pretty favorable if Chandler starts all 3 of those games.
I'm going to put in a claim for him right now. I'm going to answer your question. I am going to put in a claim for Ty Chandler right now.
Gosh. What are you in the waiver wire order?
I don't even know. I'm just sticking.
Because I already put a claim. I already put a claim on him.
Hey, you may get him then. Hey, it's all good. I'm just adding really to my list of
really low. I'm really low on the waiver.
Nah, you're probably not lower than me. I'm 10th, so you'll get him before me.
Let's see.
I'm waiver 10, you're 5, so you'll get them.
Okay.
You'll get them before me if that's your only waiver claim.
Yeah, hopefully nobody else in the league is looking for that. So hopefully nobody is wanting that or watching this right now. But yeah, so to answer your question, I'm not Brandon Cooks has had opportunities. He's had one great game. If you can get them both, I don't think there's going to be too many people going after Brandon Cooks. He's kind of hot on the shows right now as people pump him up. But just take a look at Brandon Cooks's week-to-week performance, and that'll tell you all you need to know. People are like, oh, he's getting hot. Everybody, it's just like the way Dallas fans do. They forget that they're playing Dallas. And I had several friends of mine who are Dallas fans who were like, oh, I'm like, seriously, you're playing a Dallas team without Daniel Jones. And as much as we don't like Daniel Jones, it's still what is it? DeVito was the quarterback. I mean, seriously.
Tommy DeVito.
Tommy DeVito. So if you look at Brandon Cooks' his stats over the course of the year so far,
bring that up for you.
He's had 4 points in week 1, 3 points, 6 points, 2 points, 15 against the Chargers. Then 14 against the Rams, and then 1 point against Philadelphia, 1.7. That's when I picked him up just for that week, and I immediately dropped him back because Philly has the number 1 team against the pass, and he could only come up with a point. So now against the Giants, he had 10 targets, 9 catches, 173 yards, and a touchdown. You can't discard that. I mean, he had a touchdown against the Rams and against the Chargers, so he scored a touchdown in his last 3 games. And he's got Washington coming up. So and Philadelphia again. So if you can get him, I'd give, you could take a shot, but I would go for Chandler first as far as priority. And then I'd go for Cooks if you really want him. I'm going to leave him alone myself just because I've watched him all year and it's like hit or miss. And I really need my receivers to be at least giving me 10 to 12 points a week, if not more,
You see all the praise old CeeDee Lamb is getting, and it's not that he doesn't deserve it, but here is the hypocritical thing. AJ Brown still has more yards than him.
Yes,
still has more yards.
Yeah.
I mean, he had 6 straight weeks of 125 plus, like we know that. But it's just so, when it's the Dallas Cowboys, like they just elevate him through the roof, like is he an MVP candidate? I'm like, he still doesn't have more yards. Than even AJ Brown, and AJ Brown is not at the top. You still got Tyreek Hill.
What blows me away about the Dallas media, which is the national media, is the fact that they can lose to Arizona and they come down hard on them. But as soon as they get that win again, and it could be a blowout against a really, really bad team, they're all of a sudden at the top of the power rankings. They're all of a sudden, they're still favorites. And then they lose to San Francisco, get blown out, and they're, Dallas is out of it. And then they lose to Philly. Oh, yeah, they're really done. But then they'll say, what I like to see was after the Philly loss, they were like, Dallas might have lost, but they learned from it. They were right in it until the end. So not so much talking about how good Philly is, but how good Dallas played in a loss. And then they beat a really, really weak Giants team. I mean, they're at the bottom. Giants are at the bottom right now. And it's all of a sudden this is Super Bowl bound again. This is the overreaction of the media. So it drives me crazy. All right. So looking here, speaking of the Cowboys, we're going to go to this guy here first. This is Anthony Alvis. He's wanting to know if it's time to buy low on Pollard. I feel like Swift is a good target given his higher ceiling, but maybe capped upside. Thoughts? I'll go first on this one if you don't mind, because I have Pollard. In fact, I just traded him away. I just have more that I could take from him. I had him all season. If you want to bring up Pollard's numbers, they've been lackluster to say the least. I think you can get him low. I think if there are a lot of Pollard owners, so you might be able. I traded him for Aaron Jones, really, because I have McCaffrey and I do have Swift and I have Montgomery. So he's kind of the odd man out on my team. So I just was tired of him tempting me to go into the lineup. So you see, he's had some double-digit games, but it's these last three that have been killing me. If you look at it, look at that 6, 9, 5 against the Giants. And this is what really infuriated me, because I was getting to the point where I was like, all right, am I going to start him again? Am I going to put him in at flex? Because I had McCaffrey and Montgomery this week as starters. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right, do I put him in as flex? All right, I'll put him in as flex against the Giants. And then what does he do? 5 points against the Giants. He had that almost touchdown. Mm-hmm. He looked lackluster. Rico Dowdle looked better than he did. So I'm kind of over it. So I made a trade with White Rhinos tonight for Aaron Jones. So we'll see how that goes. I just willing to take a chance on anybody else than Pollard. So yeah, I think that he's got some favorable matchups. I was trying to get Kyron Williams from White Rhinos, but he wasn't having it, so I settled for Aaron Jones. I was trying because he's on the IR, but he's coming back. For me, with DeAndre Swift, it's tough because, the thing with capped upside with Swift is higher ceiling, but higher floor. He's got some tough matchups. You know, the next few weeks are the gauntlet, as we refer to it as Philly fans, that they've got Kansas City, and then they've got Buffalo, San Francisco, and then Dallas again. That's brutal. So if you're really trying to win in your league, Swift may not be the guy for you, especially since as Eagles fans, we know that the Eagles do this running back by committee. And as much as I would like to see Swift get 20 carries a game, and I think the Eagles would win if they gave him 20 carries, they like to give Gainwell at least 10. And at least, if not more. And if Boston Scott's around, they give him another 5. So it's like Swift gets about 15 carries a game, and he makes the most of them. Yeah, he puts up some good numbers, but unfortunately, not as many as you see. You see the targets right there. So
Swift has probably been the most consistent back outside of week 1, where it was just ridiculous to have one attempt. You know, outside of guys like Kamara and McCaffrey, this is a pretty solid, plug and play back. One thing that concerned me, man, was AJ Brown when he caught him with that shoulder. I think he gave him a concussion on that when he fumbled.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he knocked him straight out, man. So I wonder if going, at least into this, you had the bye week, which is good.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is good. So normally, if you come out of the bye week with a concussion, that's pretty crazy. But I would still roll with DeAndre Swift personally, because I think he's still our bell cow.
Yeah.
And he's been proven. He's been pretty proven over the
against tough defenses already. Right. Against tough run defense.
He's been pretty proven. So I still like him. I still think he's going to get upwards of 15 catches a game, and Jalen looks for him in the passing game as well too. So I like DeAndre.
It's a really good point. I think if you take out the matchups, I think DeAndre is clearly a better back than Pollard right now.
I think if you can get Pollard, I think if you can get Swift for Pollard, I would do it. That's something I would do.
Yeah. And we got a trade to talk about, since the trade deadline for most people is this Friday, I think, the 18th, or is it Saturday? Saturday
18th.
That's our thing. So we've got a trade from Evan Gilliman, if he's still on there. Hey, Evan, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe, whether you're watching us on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. That's for everybody. Everybody. You want to ask a question, make sure you do that for it. All right, he's got 2 trades on the table for Saquon He's got Tank Dell and David Montgomery, and or James Cook and Debo. So I think that I'm assuming from this that he has Saquon, and he's wondering to accept either of these trades. That's what I'm assuming from this. He has 2 trades on the table for Saquon. So Tank Dell, David Montgomery, James Cook, and Debo. Both are pretty good. Even 2 players for 1, players that are producing. And
Right.
you're on a Giants team that any minute now might just hang it up. If they have another loss like they did against Dallas, they're not going to risk Saquon very much this year. I mean, there's just no point in it. You're end up to the point where you just don't want to get the guy hurt for the season. I tell you what, the hard thing with Montgomery, if we go into the first one, Tank Dell is right now Houston's hot, and Tank has been producing more than I think that was thought of. I think when he seemed like a flash in the pan, and now he's like really putting up some consistent numbers. I think he only had like 9 or 10 this week, but that's still not bad. And then David Montgomery, the only thing you have to really consider is Jahmyr Gibbs is now starting to really show his potential. I have Montgomery in one league and I have Gibbs in the other, and I feel more comfortable about having Gibbs. Now, granted, Montgomery had the one big run against the Chargers, which if they had not called him in bounds, would have been out of bounds, and he wouldn't have gotten that touchdown. So he got a little bit of the benefit of that. Right. But otherwise, in that Chargers game, with both a healthy Montgomery and a healthy Gibbs, we saw more Gibbs. So unless Gibbs gets hurt, I think the power balance is shifting toward Jahmyr. On the other one, I am intrigued by the James Cook and Debo. I'm intrigued by that. I think Debo is dynamic. If your other running backs are Swift, Warren, and Hunt, and you've got CeeDee, D-Hop, Ridley, Gabe Davis has been up and down. I have Gabe. Debo might fit in with your wide receivers really nicely, and Cook would as well. Granted, you're giving up potential with Saquon, but I kind of like that one. James Cook looked pretty good last night, so they benched him for that fumble. And then he came back in and he looked pretty good afterwards. But I thought Buffalo overreacted with that. So I would say if you were going to take either of them, I would look at the James Cook and Debo, because I think Debo is worth fitting in. If you got CeeDee and D-Hop, and then you put Debo as the flex, you're going to kill it. You're going to at least get some good production on one of them. Debo is one of those guys that's potential 20, 30 points, every week. You never know. I mean, you look at Jacksonville game. I can't remember what he had, but he was just the whole team was outrageous against Jacksonville, against one of the team. A team that won 5 in a row. It's unreal. So, what do you think about the options here? That
I like the bring it back up for me one time.
You got it.
It's like both. You have a kind of a trade off. So Houston with Tank Dell, he's been really having a solid season, man. And now that Nico Collins has been kind of hurt, I have Nico Collins, and every time he's hobbled or the past 2 games, so Nico missed last game, and he had 18 points, Tank Dell, and then the game before that when Nico was hobbled, that's when he threw for 5 touchdowns. Tank Dell had a hell of a game too. So he goes back to back, over 28 one week and 14 the other week. If healthy, I like the Debo and James Cook trade, because they with Montgomery, and you're almost needing like Gibbs to get hurt or something, or be hobbled in some form or fashion for Montgomery to really step up. I think the reins has shifted to Gibbs. But healthy, if both these guys are healthy, because Nico Collins is going to come back and be the top dog. Because Tank is their deep threat, so you can get a lot of home runs. But Nico Collins is more their possession type guy. So, yeah, man, I would probably go. I agree with Lee, man. I'll go with the Cook and Debo.
I think, like you said, both are intriguing. And if it's just for Saquon, I mean, the guy's taking a chance. I mean, it could work out really well, because without Daniel Jones in the lineup, without any passing attack, if they keep Saquon in the lineup, he's going to see a lot of carries. But the problem is that people don't think about is that what do teams do when you have no passing attack? They load 8 men up in the box, and then they just dare you to throw. And nobody's afraid of DeVito. Nobody's
Okay.
afraid of DeVito.
Right.
So
Yeah,
he
that's a
said
good
both
point.
offers are from the same guy. He could mix and match players in the deal potentially. I would say, there's no guarantee. Like I said, we're looking at Cook's numbers. He's not had a stellar year. I think he's showing flashes right now. I think he would have had a great night, other than he did have 100 yards. But I think he would have had a great night, better than that, had they not benched him after that fumble. That was unfortunate for him. So let's see what else we got on here. Kang's got another quick question here. He's got, who's my most expendable between my bench? Charbonnet, Rasheed, Watson, Taysom, or Chuba?
Man, I'll take this.
Yeah.
Just off the top of my head, man, I wouldn't trust anything coming out of the Carolina backfield right now. So Chuba Hubbard, would be like my first person I think is the most expendable. But he is starting now, so that's tough. Charbonnet, he's been out touching Walker in a few games, even when both are healthy. So that's kind of weird there. Christian Watson, he could be up there too. That's very droppable. Rashid Shaheed, they're on a bye week. I would kind of hold on to him because he can have some sparks, especially with Michael Thomas kind of up and down. So most expendable, I would probably go Chuba Hubbard here or Watson. What you think, Lee?
Yeah, I think Rasheed, it's tough because Carr's now out. Don't know how long. It looks like it's going to be a concussion. Jameis, okay, whatever. But you may want to hold on to him for the long stretch run because honestly, like you said, yeah, he could see a lot more targets. Watson, I like Christian Watson, but the Green Bay is a mess right now. It doesn't look like it's going to get any better. Granted, they played a really good defense in Pittsburgh, but they just didn't look good at all. Taysom Hill is decent because you can plug him in at tight end and then maybe get, some of that. But, he's not really putting up great numbers. But Chuba's probably the best. You're right. Chuba is your most expendable out of all of these. I like Charbonnet potentially just because of the receptions out of the backfield if you're in a PPR. So I definitely would agree with Tubby on those. All right. So let's see what else we got.
Oh, Rice. Oh, I got you.
Oh, Rasheed Rice. Okay.
I don't know, man. I have Mahomes, so really anybody outside of
I would
Kelsey is like is a coin flip, man.
Yeah.
Really a coin flip.
I would keep Rice only because they are playing the Eagles this Monday night.
That is true.
I may even flex him. I would say he's a potential flex depending on what you got out there, just because of the matchup. If they put Rasheed in the slot, unless we got Roby back, and even that's not even a guarantee. And I think Roby is going to be back. He says he's going to be back, our slot corner. So, but it depends on how well they play coming up to bye week. And speaking of that, I'm really kind of ticked that we're playing the Chiefs after a bye week when they're also coming off a bye week. I mean, who planned that? This schedule this year for the Eagles, whoever came up with it, and they say, "Oh, AI, no. Somebody came up with this schedule. This is like deliberate.
100%.
Look at the Dallas schedule and how it's set up, and then look at how the Eagles schedule is set up, and see if it isn't slanted one way or another. I could be biased. I probably am, but the fact that the Eagles have to play Dallas, Kansas City, Buffalo, San Francisco, Dallas, Seattle in a solid 6-game stretch. I'm not so much buying that was just generated by AI. Ridiculous. All right. Do you want to talk about our league? That's all the questions I got for right now. If you have any more questions, by all means, put them in the chat, and we will get to them before we get out here. We're talking trades because the trade deadline is Saturday, and we're talking the highest looking players on the waiver wire.
Yeah, man.
We already talked about Chandler,
So yeah, man, you have Chandler out there. I got some guys. We can look over your trade as well too. I know you put it out there, but I did see trades. Where we go? No recent trades, not for me at least. I gotta go probably to our league. I can see it off of my team. Let's see.
There it is, pending trade.
Yeah, man. So did you guys both accept the trade? No, this trade will be processed. Yep. Oh, that's right. It doesn't even come to us unless you guys do accept it.
Yeah.
So unless I hit the vote against the trade button,
He'll be
just
more
play.
disappointed than I will. I'm just tired of Pollard, and that's the
Yeah.
thing is I looked at what they both have coming up, and the thing is that Pollard's rated so much higher, but I just other than like the look at the first few weeks, he's had one good game since the first 3 weeks of the season, and it's just been 6, 9, and 5, and I just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I just couldn't. I just can't keep him in my lineup, especially when I got McCaffrey and I have Montgomery and I have Swift. It's like, no. So Aaron Jones, adequate. I think that I'm hoping that the Packers will switch more to a ground attack because of Love's inadequacies, but it's all a gamble. I just need a change. I may not even start him, except I will probably start him against the Chargers. Chargers give up a lot on the ground, so
they do. Huh.
And they did to Gibbs and Montgomery.
Man,
they got murdered.
Into a special backfield, man. I cannot believe. Let me tell you my trials and tribulations. So there's a few things that I did wrong this week, and I could have very well won this week, but I just had a comedy of errors. I'm like, okay, looking on the waiver wire for like a defense, and I was like, well, I'll pick up Detroit just in case they have an off game and they just get lit up. Thinking, all right, well, I can get a few sacks here or there. Maybe they'll beat up the Chargers a little bit. That was not the case at all. Then, what else did I do that I just regret? I dropped Noah Brown right before the game started. Dropped him right before the game. And I was going to pick up Baker Mayfield off the waiver wire. He didn't have an explosive day, but he did a lot better than Tyler Heineke, who ended up leaving the game with the hamstring injury. And then I have Singletary, but I don't feel bad not starting Singletary because I wasn't going to really drop Travis Etienne under no circumstances. Man, he's just a really good back, even though he's going up against Frisco. I cannot believe how poorly. But one thing I did do that I have to give myself a little credit for, but I didn't win, so it doesn't matter anyway. I dropped T-Law right before the game started. I was like, you know what? I don't trust this.
No.
He only has like 9 touchdowns all year. Yeah. And I was like, this is probably a poor time to kind of bust him out, man. But one thing I was salty about, I was like, well, you do have DK Metcalf. Go ahead and pick up. It was Baker Mayfield or, oh my goodness, the Seattle quarterback.
Oh, Geno.
Oh my goodness.
Geno.
Yeah. Or pick up Geno. And I would have did better with either of those. I just cannot believe it, but I can believe it as well too. But I was just hoping, Heineke has Drake London back. Maybe he can give me a flyer. But I got Mahomes and the boys back this week, so we'll see what's up with that. And I just got to make it into the playoffs at this point, man. I went from 1st to 6th in 2 weeks. 1st to 6th. So I'm hurting, man. I'm right on the cusp of, but we're all 5-5. From 3,
I know, is that crazy?
To 7. We're all 5-5, man. So anything can happen at this point. You got White Rhinos. He was 0-5. Then went on a 5-game winning streak, and then you beat him last week. But before that, man, he was on the tear.
And he had a lot
on the tear.
He had a lot on bye that week. I got the benefit of bye weeks for me. I had the guy I was going in my other league. It was Chiefs, a lot of Chiefs and Dolphins. So he was screwed. You should have seen what he put out there. I'm not even going to show you, but it was bad. I think I won 178 to like 60. It was not pretty. It's a weird to look at everybody being so close. But there's your brother on top again. So I got a 2-game lead over everybody else.
Crazy, man. He's won the money. He's won high score 3 straight weeks. After I won it 3 straight weeks. Every week I was going just about. I won the money 3 straight weeks.
Well, you probably needed it because I
needed it.
It put me right on vacation.
Right to the top, and I didn't have to pay out anybody, which was great because my Zelle was not working on the ship. And then my brother won the last week, and I was like, "Hey, man, I hit you up when I get to Sydney." He was like, "Oh, don't worry about it. Just give it to me when you get back." So the last 6 weeks has been all birds winning. So it is what it is. But he's at the top, man. But look at this. Even from 2nd place all the way to 10th, it could get spicy. It could get real spicy, bro. Look at
It's
this.
yeah, that's
It's just
crazy.
as
I've never seen it
anybody
that close.
sneezes, it could
Yep.
change
No one
drastically.
is safe. No one is safe. So yeah, Anthony
Oh man.
pointed out Pollard's got a vengeance game incoming, probably going for 30. I believe it when I see it. I mean, I actually thought going into the season Pollard was going to be extremely dynamic because of the way he played last year. It kind of spelling Ezekiel Elliott, and the weird thing is that Dowdle is that back this year, and Pollard's playing the role of Zeke, and it's the other way around where Pollard gets in there, and I think maybe it's a situational thing where when Pollard's in the backfield, teams are more inclined to stack the box. So he's not getting the benefit. And then Rico Dowdle comes in and he's got maybe facing a 6-man box. And Dowdle is catching passes out of the backfield that Pollard isn't necessarily doing so much of that. So, yeah, I think that Pollard could be a great back behind that offensive line. He's just not shown it a lot this year. I mean, he did early. I thought when he went for 22 and 19 against the Jets and then 15 against Arizona, I thought, oh, okay. And then 9, 8, 17, 6, 9, and 5. All right, let's see what happens. All right, we got the Smitty. Hey, the Smitty. He's asking for some help. One of his running backs is Christian McCaffrey. So would you trade Lamar to get Kupp and Mitchell? I mean, I wouldn't trade Lamar to get Kupp and Mitchell right now. I wouldn't trade Lamar. I mean, Kupp's valuable, but man, you've got a quarterback that is hurt right now. Look at Kupp's last few games. You got a quarterback that Stafford's out. I mean, he come back after the bye, but even then, they're not playing for anything. So how much are they gonna like? Kupp's coming off an injury. How much do they really want to work Cooper when they're not playing for anything? And Mitchell, if you're talking about Elijah Mitchell, just backing up, that'd be just only as an insurance if Christian McCaffrey went down. So I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't. I assume that's who he's talking about. So yeah, I wouldn't do that for Lamar. Who's your other starting quarterback that you?
I think he's talking about and plus they had Carson Wentz, probably going to be the starter.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, they did sign Carson. That's interesting.
So unless you have confidence in Carson Wentz and you believe, because we got to think playoffs at this point, like all your energy needs to be into getting into and being successful in the playoffs. So I don't know, man. I wonder if he's talking about Keaton Mitchell from Baltimore.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. Now he's had it. If he's talking about Keaton, yeah, whoever that was going to be another one that I would mention. If nobody's going waiver wire, if nobody's picked this kid up in your league, man, you got to get him this week because the first week, was exceptional. The 130 and a touchdown. This one, it kind of cooled off. That Cleveland game was weird, but he still showed flashes, and he had 32 receiving yards. So, yeah, I mean, I still don't think he's worth Lamar, in my opinion. No, even
he said he has. I think I can read it from there. He says Purdy is my starter. He's been producing.
Does he?
I mean, I hear you. He's talking about. No, he was talking about Eli Mitchell. So, okay.
Okay, all right. Keaton Mitchell is to me is more valuable than Elijah Mitchell because really Elijah is just backing up Christian at this point.
Maybe we gave you a new Mitchell to think about.
Yeah, and you might be able to get him off your waiver wire. Could be still out there. I look at my projections show that Keaton Mitchell is only rostered in 36% of leagues. This is across all fantasy leagues, ESPN, Yahoo, and so forth. So while you're looking at that, I'm going to bring up another one from Anthony Alvis. Who are your top two out of this list? You're asking who mine are? Mine right now, I have Ayuk and Olave, so I'm doing all right. That's my top two. Ayuk has been spotty because he's been hurt. Olave has been up and down. I worry about Olave with Carr being banged up, but he played well under Jameis, so fingers crossed. I also have Gabe Davis, who's been, been up and down. He had one game there where he didn't have any catches, which sucked, but then every other game he's been in double digits. So he has Waddle, Higgins, and Ridley are all underperforming. Waddle has still got potential to be out there. It's unfortunate that the Bengals offense is very unpredictable right now. So,
and
So,
Calvin Mitchell. I'm sorry, Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
You know, it's just the Jaguars offense is just hard to predict what they're going to do, man. From week to week, you just really they're the most interesting team, man, because you just don't know what you're going to get. Think like I said, it's been 9 games now, and they have 9 touchdowns. I think Lawrence has. So it's like they've won 5 straight before this loss to San Francisco, but they still, ETN was getting about 2 touchdowns a game when I have him on my roster. So it's tough, man. With Ridley, I think Waddle's your best wide receiver 2 there. If you're just talking about that Waddle, then that out of that group, Waddle would be your best number 2 there. Except my wide receivers are Boyd, Collins, Cooper, and Sutton.
You're just saying who's out there. If you're looking at starting, that's not
so
bad.
You're talking about who to start out of these
I think
guys.
he's still talking about that trade because that's his
Okay.
receivers, and he's wanting Cup, and these are just his starters. So
Okay.
that's what he's dealing with, and he wants to upgrade on that. He's willing to give up Lamar because he has Purdy. I don't know. Lamar, to me, I know that Purdy had the great game against Jacksonville, but they lost 3 in a row, and he was not performing great compared to what Lamar was doing in that stretch. Lamar's been running through people.
At times with Purdy, because my brother has him, and the week that I beat him was, they just have these ebbs and flows, man. It's like if the defense plays well, Purdy has the ball more, and then you get the production. But if the defense isn't playing well, it seems like those 3 losses came from like a balance of like San Francisco not having the ball all the time, them not having Trent Williams, a lot of turnovers down the stretch too, regardless of how the defense is playing. But it was like the worst case scenario for them. Like they've always been held down by their defense, even when things have been going bad. And just to put an Eagles plug out there, like I don't think the Eagles could win any close games this year, man. I'm telling you, man, even Washington, like 15-9 or something like that. I don't feel comfortable with the Eagles beating anybody 15-9.
They're winning them though. They're not blowing anybody out, but they're winning the close games.
But it's like where we can just count on our defense to like just show up for a full game. I mean, we have the worst passing defense in football. So
best running defense. So
best running is a good balance.
The problem is, I think more teams are looking at the Eagles and they're just like, we're not even going to try to run. That's what Dallas did. They barely tried to run the ball against the Eagles because of the pass defense. And if more teams do that, I guarantee you the Chiefs will abandon the run. Now, granted, they have Pacheco, and so we may see more carries than Dallas did.
We've had good quarterback play out of Jalen when down. And they showed that stat against Dallas. Jalen's been the best quarterback in the league. When he's down, he's actually played the best when we've been down. It's like they just don't try nothing cute. Like, I'll just throw one up to AJ. It's like everything is more structured. But sometimes I think when they get up, they start hot dogging. Like, I'll just see if I can get you 2 or, Smitty here. But that's luckily enough that Jalen has played exceptionally well. He's played the best in the league to make up for that. Like, we also need that. That's how bad our defense is that our quarterback can't even be average when we're down. He needs to be the best in the league when we're down. And we just so happen that he has been. But that's an incredible pressure to put on one person.
He seems to be able to take it. And like I said, that's why we're winning close games, because of our front 7 and our offense has just been playing out of their heads and been able to continue to produce. And going forward on 4th down, up when it's 4th and short and doing the brotherly shove has just been unbelievably crazy. And we better enjoy it now because they're probably going to ban it for next year. I will say this about the 49ers. They're probably okay. I mean, of course they're okay. They blew out Jacksonville. That 3-game stretch where they lost 3 was really weird, especially the Minnesota game. That was a game they should not have lost. And it just seemed like they weren't even up for that. So I think we're going to see more of the regular 49ers going forward. So Purdy will probably finish strong the rest of the year. I don't think they have too tough of a schedule compared to the Eagles or the Cowboys. So I think that we'll see. Granted, they got to play the Eagles, but the Eagles have the worst pass defense. So Definitely start Purdy in a few weeks, in about 3 weeks when the Eagles play him.
Yeah.
We got another quick question about a trade here. Edwards for Addison. So I like Addison, but the thing with me is it's hard because Dobbs has been playing out of his head in Minnesota right now. Who would have thought that when Kirk Cousins went down?
Sure.
They trade for Dobbs, who isn't even wanted in Arizona because, well, first of all, they're not winning, and Kyler Murray was coming back. So they just dump him, and he goes to Minnesota, and he's become a hero. 2 straight games, playing out of his mind. So, yeah, I like Jordan Addison. I like what he's done in absence of Justin Jefferson, but Justin's coming back soon, isn't he?
You think he's I do not think Justin Jefferson is coming back unless they keep this miracle run going.
Yeah.
Where they have Dobbs is balling. I got to give him his he's not just he's balling. He's just making whatever play they need. It's just weird. It's just because we saw him play in Arizona earlier in the season. I mean, he beat Dallas, so you have that under your belt. But that was it. I think that was the only win. But, always, anytime their defensive coordinator, who's their head coach, their head coach, Gannon, I'm always but Gannon's on their defense, so they don't have a shot all the time. Yeah. But they've surprised a few games. Anyway, I am, with this one, if you can get Addison, because I don't think Justin Jefferson's coming back this year. I don't think it's worth it for him. I think it may be if Kirk Cousins was playing and they were on this stretch, but I think he knows because Dobbs throws a lot of hospital balls too, man. He puts his wide receivers in some crazy situations. So I don't think, and even if he does come back, I just don't see him giving you what you need moving into the playoffs. So I think Addison is always going to be their top dog. With KJ Osborne having the concussion the week prior, took a really big hit. I think Addison is going to be on. Gus Edwards, man, from that backfield, anybody can kind of score. Lamar can run it from short. I have Gus Edwards on my roster in another league. He can be kind of boomer bust or touchdown dependent at times. We just watched Mitchell, the other young, and you have the other kid, Hill, back there. Yeah. So they have 3 running backs that on any given day can make some really good plays for them. So I say all that to say, if you can get Addison, I would.
Yeah, if you have Edwards right now, it depends on who else you have at running back. But,
that's true.
But Edwards is Baltimore's hot, other than the come from behind loss that they had this week against Cleveland, which was shocking. But they self-inflicted, man. They were dominating that game till the middle of the second half. But Addison right now as a rookie is really showing out, and with Dobbs playing well, it's worth taking a chance. Now, like you said, it all comes down to Jefferson coming back, but Jefferson coming back could help Addison if the attention shifts and Dobbs has already formed some sort of chemistry with Addison. That's happened, and Jefferson, if he does come back, may not see the amount of targets.
He scored against the Eagles, Addison. He scored against the Eagles.
He did.
When they had Jefferson, just pointing to a game where Jefferson was playing.
Yeah, he had a good game against the Eagles.
Yeah,
which a lot of people.
Everybody does, bro. I'm telling you, man. Look at this right next to it. See, this says number 1. Yeah. Number 1.
That doesn't mean they're the best. The pass. They're the worst.
That is the worst. That is. We've been screaming it from the rooftops. Any quarterback can look good against the Eagles, and it's just something has to change, man.
Yeah,
something has to change, man. We've been bad at that for 3 years straight. The only thing that last year throughout the game, our team would get so many sacks, it would break up a lot of those. Mm-hmm. This year I'm telling you, on third and anything, I'm just like, they're probably going to get it. And they probably have to depend on literally drops, bro. Drops.
Yeah,
drops.
It's not good.
Oh, it's getting me so fired up. I can't believe they're that bad. I cannot believe they're that bad at defending the pass.
Yeah,
it's unreal. It's like imagine if the Eagles were 19th in defending the pass. I mean, their record wouldn't be any better, but the whole point is, it's like
we'd feel better.
How much they would look ridiculously better as a team.
Yeah.
completely shutting out the run and you're 19th in the pass, you're probably beating teams up. But everybody just has a good day against us. It just pisses me off, man. It really gets under my skin.
We'll see what happens. I mean, granted, we got Roby coming back. But losing Avonte Maddox was huge. With Byard, with maybe some full practices under his belt, teaming with Blankenship. When you look on paper and you've got Bradbury Slay and now Bradley Roby, and then you've got Byard and Reed Blankenship, it looks like a decent defensive backfield. Yeah. The middle, again, they really should look at pulling Dean out of coverage, putting him maybe in on first down, using him in a Reddick role, but then kind of, stopping the run, but not so much after that, because Dean, I think, is a liability against the pass. And like
he can't stay on the field.
No.
He can't stay on the field. So, like I said, the numbers show they've played better with Burrow and Cunningham. Cunningham being our guys can stop the run. I think that's what keeps us in games. We got tacklers all day.
Oh, yeah.
Our secondary, Blankenship downhill, Byard downhill, just tacklers. Like Blankenship is an incredible tackler. Like if he's around you, he's probably going to make that hit. Cunningham has been a stud all year tackling, and Burrow has been a good blitzer for us, really disruptive. And you can kind of put, Cunningham anywhere. And our line has been like our saving grace, man. Our line has been and our offense. I mean, our offense has played well, but man, I just feel like we are never going to get the ball back when the other team has it. I'm just like, aren't going to get a pick six, just nothing, bro. I feel so empty when the other team has the ball, because I'm just like, it's like we can't stop anything.
Right.
And with having Goddard out, that's another target that we're losing on offense, man. And I don't like it.
I think Okwuegbunam was going to play well when he comes in, because he hasn't really played yet. They're trying to work him in the offense this week. He's not going to be Goddard, let's face it, but he's played well in the past for Denver, so I think he can be a stopgap. Stoll plays okay, it's a big loss, but I do think what we'll see more of, and a lot of people pointed this out, that you're going to see now with Goddard out, you're going to see more of Julio in the slot, so you're going to see more of AJ and Devontae on the ends and putting Julio in there in that Goddard role. And I think they showed, when he finally scored a touchdown, it was a nice catch on a fast ball. Mm-hmm. So I think that Julio could actually start raising some eyebrows. We'll see how it happens in the Chiefs game, because that's going to be a tell-all with the injuries, how the Eagles play, especially against a revenge game. That's going to be important. So I'm not so much worried about if they win or lose that one. I really want to see them beat the 49ers when they come to town. Like to see them beat the Bills at home. And then I'd love to see them take Dallas out again. So the Chiefs game for me is important, but it's not out of that list. That's not my biggest one. So
here is my overall problem, and it's just concern. We are the worst in the league from a defensive, passing standpoint, and we haven't even hit. We just got to the gauntlet. That is we can start getting embarrassed, and people turn around like, "Wow, you guys are 8-1." I'm like, "Look, man, we needed exceptional quarterback play from Jalen Hurts, like not just regular. We needed him to be the best in the league during these times, man. I'm telling you, it could make us go from okay or 8-1 to like whoa, and then the Philadelphia media, man, they will dumpster fire you. They will start really leaning in, man. And I don't know, man. I just hope they wake up. I know we had the injuries, and I get it. I get all that, but I
that's
agree
what we
with
said
you,
earlier. Yeah, if you didn't hear us, we were talking about the individual has Rashee Rice and asking if he's expendable. No, I'd flex him this week. If you have any Chiefs receivers, I would flex them, because one of them or more are going to have the potential to go off. So Sky Moore's still playing. He's not hurt right now, is he? I don't watch too much Chiefs, so I think that's another one. So yeah, it's interesting. We got another trade question real quick. I have to get out of here pretty soon. I don't know about you. So we've got time for a couple more questions. Trade deadline. This is King again. Trade deadline is next Wednesday. Let Saquon play this week in order to redeem his bad week, in order to add value for a trade. I would still shop him depending on what you're looking for. He's trying to trade him for Swift or Eckler, you could probably get either or, depending on how desperate the other person is to have Saquon. I'm looking at his numbers. I mean, he's got Washington this week, who don't no longer have Sweat, Montez Sweat, or Chase Young. So it's hard to really gauge Washington's run defense after losing those two guys. They played pretty well this past weekend, but they're right now 17th against the run. He's projected at around 15 points, projected at 15 next week against New England. Then he's got a bye week. So anybody who's looking at him right now, they're probably going to want him as soon as possible, because after that, the bye, they've got Green Bay, but then going into the playoffs, he's got New Orleans, who's 29th against the run, meaning 29th best. So they're like third against the run. And then he's got Philly, who is number one against the run. So you may want to try to get that trade. If you get Austin Eckler, I mean, look at what his projected is up right now, and look at those defenses, man. All that green is good. So you want to try to get Austin if you're looking at those projections. If you can get him, man. He's not been great yet. He's had a couple of flashes. That Lions game was okay. He had some good numbers, but 67 yards and a touchdown, but he had 48 receiving. So when he's healthy, the ball goes through Austin. So anybody willing to give him up for Saquon's probably crazy, but you could try it.
Definitely. Nah, I agree with you 100% right there. If you can get Saquon,
yeah,
for Eckler,
if not, and you think you can get Swift's probably somebody's more likely to give up Swift, only because of the Eagles' schedule coming up, like we've mentioned, and only because he's still in that platoon with Gainwell. And somebody may want to look at that and go, oh yeah, I can get Saquon. To me, you're looking at Saquon's schedule. It's okay, but they've got no passing offense, so he's going to be keyed on, especially like New England, who's got a pretty decent run defense. They're going to key on stopping Saquon. They're not going to worry about the Giants. Are a mess right now, man. They are a mess.
Unbelievable.
So if you can dump Saquon for Swift or Eckler, I try Eckler first, but then if you can get Swift, that's still an upgrade right now.
Yeah.
Not at the beginning of the season, but now it's definitely an upgrade.
Yeah, man. Anyway. I'm right there with you on that. I agree. If you can get Eckler for Saquon, I mean, you almost have to do it, because the Chargers are still fighting for something. This loss this weekend, that hurt them. Because now I think they're back below 500, which is crazy. So they're still literally like fighting for something, and that's a team. Those are the players you want. Yeah, you don't want guys like the Giants, who aren't really playing for anything. And it's a lot of shouting on the sideline. Or on the Giants, they are a mess. Waller may not even come back to even take any pressure off. You know, they may just shut the whole season down, like Lee's saying, man. So you can get Eckler, or you can get Swift, because the Eagles have something to play for as well.
Exactly.
You can get Swift or Eckler for Saquon. I think at this point in the season, you just do it. Now maybe with Swift, you can maybe try to steal a little tight end or something, like see if you can get Dalton Kincaid in there with Swift for Barkley or something. You know, something to give you a little bit more. If they'll do that, then cool. But straight up, I'll take either running back over Barkley based off of what's going on right now, because they know they're getting nothing from their passing game. Nothing.
Yeah. Anthony just adds, Saquon, Breece, and Jacobs all seem to be all in the same predicament. I thought Jacobs was going to have some up after the firing of Josh McDaniels, and I still think that the Raiders might have something to play for. They're starting to get this little resurgence. So I would and looking at what they did on Sunday night against the Jets, and that was a tough defense. And I'd say Jacobs is I would say he's primed to turn it around. I don't know if the Raiders are going to go anywhere, but I think they're playing for something now. They're playing for pride. So he's not too bad. Breece Hall, again, the more the Jets lose, the less you're going to see Breece out there. But Saquon is, honestly, if you watch the Giants against the Cowboys, I don't think it's going to get any better. There's going to be teams that may not beat them as bad as the Cowboys, but I just don't know how you can go the rest of the season with DeVito and think that you're going to actually go anywhere. So you're right. Yeah, running backs are tough. He says that after CMC and Eckler, Kamara usage has been sketchy. I thought I've got Jahmyr Gibbs in one league, and he's been phenomenal the last 2 weeks. He's won me both of the leagues single-handedly. The Chargers game was outrageously good. And he's just had 2 in a weeks in a row. He's been outstanding. Montgomery before he got injured, was outstanding. So I think the Lions have figured it out. They know that if they run the ball well, that takes a lot of pressure on Goff. And you look at how well we went to see the Eagles and Lions play last year. And walking away from that game, a lot of people, even Lions fans, were like, man, the only thing that we have is Goff. He's a liability. But I think this year, with their offensive line playing much better, with the running backs in Montgomery and Gibbs really taking control, you've seen Goff play better. Some of those passes he made to Laporta and then the other tight end for the touchdown, 4th down plays to Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's just played really well. And a part of that is because he's getting more time in the pocket because of Gibbs and Montgomery. So I think that if you've got either one of those guys or can get one, you might be able to get Montgomery. Because I think a lot of people who are watching Gibbs do what he does may be, like ready to sell Montgomery because they're going into that stretch run thinking he might not be there. But I still think I think the power balance has shifted, like I said earlier, between Gibbs and Montgomery. But I still think Montgomery's going to get double-digit carries because they're trying to be smart with these two guys.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. With that, man, we're going to start getting on up out of here. It's good to be back. Really good to be back this week.
Same.
Oh, man. Watching football in the comfort of my own home. There's nothing better. There's nothing better. Nothing better, man. But, hey, man, thanks for everybody for tuning in to the Fantasy Waiver Wire. Hopefully your trades go over well. I may even put a little flyer in myself, man, and get rid of trades Breece Hall for Waddle, Breece and Waddle for Tyreek. Ooh, nah, I wouldn't do that. I don't know what you think, Greg. Real quick.
Real quick, I would consider that one. Just because Tyreek can take over. If you've got another back that besides Breece that you can count on, then yeah, I would do that trade.
Yeah.
Tyreek is always going to produce. Even on bad days, he's going to get you something. So
something. Absolutely. Just ask Mahomes. I'm sure he's missing them out there.
It's true.
Yeah. But you got anything before we get out of here, Lee?
No, I think we're going to be back on Thursday, right before the Thursday night game to talk lineups. So if you want to come back in after you get all through your waiver wire and your trade deals and everything going on, you want some advice, tune in. I think we're going to shoot for 7 Eastern on that day. We want to do. Yeah, that's what we try to do when we're here. So 7 o'clock Eastern on Thursday, right before Thursday night football. Check us out, and we'll have your lineup questions that we can kind of answer for you at that point.
Yeah. And thanks everybody again for stopping by. Hopefully you missed us. We missed y'all talking about fantasy football. And check us out on Thursday. Just like that, we are gone.